Hey everyone, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. My name is Meredith Henson. I am the Head of Solutions Consultancy at Total Learning, and I'm joined by the fabulous Lee Cooper, our Senior Solutions Consultant. Hey Lee.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, everyone. Hope you're all well. How are you, Meredith?
I'm good, although as on point, just as we hit 4 p.m. here in the UK, I took a sip of tea and started choking. So I'll have to buy some time while I finish coughing. Now, we've still got a few people joining us, so I'll just go through the kind of session admin while we can see folks are joining. So thank you again for joining. So today's session is primarily a live demo. I do have a few slides, mostly as prompt for myself, a few screenshots. There's even a animated GIF in there for everyone's enjoyment. So I'll be flicking between my demo site and the slides, just to kind of bookmark the various areas I'm going to be covering today. Now, questions are very welcome. I'd ask you to put those in the Q&A area of Zoom at the either the bottom or the top of your screen, depending on how you've set it. You should see both chat and Q&A. If you put your questions in Q&A, it means that we can mark them off as we answer them or fail to answer them. And then we can follow up with those missed questions in the forums and the Total community. Anything else, please pop in the chat. Lee is looking after us all. He'll be feeding me questions from Q&A and looking after the chat. And occasionally, well, not occasionally, usually every time I manage to surprise Lee with asking him to post a link to something, he'll pop that in the chat. So keep both open, but please don't be shy. If you have any questions, we will try and get to them. This is a session that is being recorded. The recording will usually go up on the Total community within a couple of days of a session, so certainly by the end of the week. So if you want to watch it again or share with any of your colleagues, you're very welcome to do so. And if you have a question or anything that you want to follow up with us after the session, maybe a question that you don't think of at the time, we can be reached in the discussion forums, so you can post any questions or comments in there. All right, so let's start off with a very quick poll. So this is just a completely anonymous poll just to see who I'm talking with today. So this is just, are you currently using a Total product? Hopefully, yes, no, yes, the right configuration of options here. But as I say, this is anonymous, so please feel free to be honest. It just gives me a feel for how I should pitch this session. So while there's folks answering that poll, I will get started. It looks like most people have joined now. So today I'm going to be talking about the Total Talent Experience platform. Occasionally I get a little lazy and I call it the Total TXP. That's what I'm talking about. And the Talent Experience platform is all of the Total products that we currently offer. So Total Learn, which is our learning management system, Total Engage, our learner engagement system, and Total Perform, our performance management system. Now, when we put all three together, we call them the Talent Experience platform, but they can work individually or in combination with one or two or three of those products. And there's connection points and different functionality that they each offer you. So as I'm going through the demo today, I'll be highlighting areas that are maybe specific to Perform or Engage. And then, of course, there's functionality that they share as well. So some of the cool stuff like users and reporting that they all need to have. But if there's any point where you're thinking, is that Perform or is that Engage or is that Learn? Again, pop it in the Q&A and I can be a little clearer on that. But from a user perspective, even if you have all three products, seamless navigation, they're not aware of what product they're using because it's a kind of a functionality that we've switched on rather than added. So thank you to everyone that has answered that poll. I will close that down now. It looks like we've got a nice spread. So there's a few folks that aren't using Total yet, I say optimistically. So hopefully you'll answer all your questions. Please don't be shy about asking any questions, particularly if I slip into jargon. or assumptions. So call me up on that, and welcome to everyone who's a Totra partner, a staff member, or already using Totra Suite. All right, goodbye poll and close. So before I start off, Lee, anything I need to know?
No, all quiet on the Western Front at the moment.
Excellent. And if no one's read that book, I strongly recommend it. So I'm going to start off just again with some slides and then moving over to my demo site. I just want to talk about the three products. So we've got Totra Learn, which is primarily our formal learning or instructor-led compliance-based training platform. It supports online, offline, and blended learning. It features all the functionality that you would expect from an enterprise-ready learning management system. A key for a lot of organizations is being able to run compliance and mandatory training, but also wrapped around that, there are some compliance items around GDPR, privacy, and for large organizations or very busy organizations, things like automation and personalization is incredibly important. Now, lots of features, and you can see on screen, this is really just scraping the surface of some of the functionality that's available. We can always do deep dives into any of this functionality if you vote for it, because there's a spoiler alert, a poll at the end where I'm asking if you'd like to learn more about anything in particular. So this is my cue to end show, and my demo site's here. So my demo site is the latest version of the Talent Experience platform. We recently provided an update around just the start of November. So there's a few new features, if you haven't seen them yet, that I'm going to highlight. A lot of behind the scenes fixes and improvements, so things like accessibility fixes, performance improvements as well, which I can't demo, but I can proudly talk about as well. So this is what we call a vanilla site. There's no theme, there's no design, there's no branding applied to it. Everything that I've done is out of the box, but, and I should, here we go. This is a couple of screenshots for some of our other customers that are using Totra. And you can look through our case studies page on our website. Lee, if you would be so kind to put a link to the case studies in the chat, where you can go and have a good old nosy at what other folks are doing. And as I'm skipping through these themes, you can see that there's a big variation in the look, the theme, the color, the layout, the content, the text. All of these things are still Totra. And these are brands and themes and configurations that our Totra partner network have applied for our various customers. So you can have a simple look and feel, you can have a heavily branded look and feel. And because of the open core nature of the functionality, you've got a lot of scope for changing the look and feel as well as the functionality. So you can see some beautifully colored ones. So let's not end on US beef. There we go, Samsung, that's a nice looking one. So let me close that and we'll go back to my demo site. Should zoom in a bit. So I'm going to log in and show you the experience as a learner. So on this page, very quickly, you can customize the logo and the banner and the content here. You don't necessarily have to force login at this page. You might allow people to browse a catalog of learning and only log in once they want to enroll or view a course. So those changes are at your fingertips. You can also use and connect other ways to authenticate or log into your site. So if you've got existing systems you want to reuse, or you want people to be able to log in through their Microsoft account or LinkedIn or Google account, then the system supports that single sign-on and shared authentication. But I'm keeping it simple today, and our friend Lisa Lerner, that some of you may already know, is going to log in here and have that experience of just logging in manually. So Lisa Lerner, she's a standard user on the site. She doesn't have any particular access rights or permissions over and above just being having an account on the system. But the system itself is it's a very granular access right or permissions matrix. So you can allow different groups of users to be able to see and do and edit and change different things as you like. So these are just the defaults, but if it doesn't work how you like it, you can usually change it fairly easily. So this is a dashboard. I'm just going to zoom out a little bit. So a dashboard is can be your landing page for a site, and this is one of those areas where automation and personalization is demonstrated. So Lisa's logged in, she sees this particular dashboard with these particular items, such as the last course that she accessed, what upcoming certifications or compliance training is coming up, what's her current learning and her progress towards completing that program, and what badges has she recently completed or achieved. This navigation along the top, again, all completely configuration, no design skill or technical ability required. If you've got a nice stock photo or some branded photography or drawings, you can add them here and then choose where each of these items link to. And like dashboards, access to view these individual items is based on some functionality called audiences. So audiences are groups of users, and you can have them as set, so you can choose individuals to belong to an audience, or you can use the functionality called dynamic audiences, which allows you to automatically group users together based on various rules or criteria. That criteria might be what job they have, what team they work in, what courses they have or haven't done, what their preferred language is, where they're located, or a combination of all of those or any of those things. There's around 50, 60 different audience rules with have and has not or does not options. So at a very granular level, you can group users together so they see the right dashboards, they see the right content, and even within their dashboards, you can provide the right navigation or the right information to them automatically. So what Lisa might not realize is that maybe behind the scenes, when the administrator created this dashboard, there's actually 3 rows of these 4 navigation points. And it's only because Lisa sits within a certain audience that she's seeing these particular 4. So again, very much around automation and personalization. Now on this page, we also see this trending area or block. So the site is made up of these blocks or widgets. And these blocks can be added to these dashboards or the front page or within courses, as we'll see later on. And these blocks provide navigation or information. And this is one of these blocks, which is this recommendations block. Now, the recommendations block is powered through a machine learning based algorithm, which provides a range of different recommendations. Now, the more users you have in the site and the more that they're doing and the more that they're clicking around and the more engaged they are, the better and more targeted those recommendations. So on my poor little demo site, trending is as best as I can give you because it's just me and Lisa Lerner in here. But if we had a few more real users, we would see some more information. But we can see trending information or trending content. The recommendations can also offer recommendations for courses that in this case Lisa hasn't already completed or isn't currently enrolled in. Can provide recommendations for micro-learning, which are these resources that have been identified as taking less than 5 minutes to watch or read. And also for workspaces, which I'll come back to, which is under this collaborate area, which are collaborative communication and sharing spaces. And that sits under the Engage product. What I want to do is just dive into a couple of, well, actually what I want to do is take a sip of water, but after that, I want to dive in just to the difference in terms of the different types of learning that are available on the site.
So there's no questions come through yet, Meredith, apart from one around whether you'd have time to show the setup of competencies. But I've said that I'm doing a webinar on that on the 24th and also posted a link to the community course.
Oh, perfect. Lovely. Thank you. You're making this really easy on me. Thank you, Lee. That's perfect. Okay. And thanks for letting me take that sip of water as well.
Pleasure.
So I'm here on the learning catalog and just a few definitions. So I've talked about courses and compliance-based training, just to narrow that down for the folks that aren't using TOTA already. A course is a space for learning activities, whether that might be a face-to-face event or a virtual training event or a quiz or an assessment or an e-learning package through SCORM those are all bundled together in what's called a course. Then we have programs, which are usually a larger qualification or a larger piece of work, which are made up of usually 2 or more courses. And those can be adaptive in nature or can be prescribed, have a set order in which users can complete or must complete those various courses. Certifications are like programs in that they are a series of courses, but with certifications, users have to certify and then periodically recertify. And that recertification might be a different set of courses than that original certification. So for example, within first aid, you might do a week-long intensive course. It might be 2 or 3 courses, and then the recertification might be just a video and a quiz to check that you remember everything. And so that's maybe just 1 course that you complete every 6 or 12 months, whatever period of time works for your particular compliance requirement. So courses, I say, a collection of activities. Programs, a collection of courses. Certification, a collection of courses that you might need to or have to redo periodically. And then we have resources and playlists, which sit within the Engage product. Now, I will come back to that. I just want to dive into an example of a course. Now, this is a very basic course. It doesn't look pretty, I acknowledge that. What I want to focus on is the functionality rather than look and feel. But there's lots of different ways that you can make your courses more dynamic, more colorful, more interactive, more visual. And if you have a look at, for example, the link that Lee recently posted to the competencies course, that will go to a Total Academy course, which is free to use and complete and get a certificate or a badge for. And you can see if you go to that link on the community that we've used that visual navigation. We've embedded a lot of videos, but right now I want to focus on the features that are available, but know that you can make these courses more dynamic. You can embed media and images and even remove all of the text on the screen and make it all completely graphical navigation. So this is an example of an adaptive course, and being able to provide an adaptive learning, opportunities for adaptive learning is a key part of the learning management system. And by adaptive learning, I mean that users will have potentially a different pathway or a different learning journey to other learners based on maybe what they do, where they do it, how well they've done it, what activities they have or haven't completed, and even the grade of different activities they have or haven't completed. And so the site, the course will adapt to the particular point in their learning that the user sits. Of course, there's a lot of setup behind that, but it means that once you set it up, you can deliver the right content to the learners at the right time. So for example, here we have a pre-assessment quiz. Because Lisa has already completed this particular quiz and got a very respectable 80%, she's not being delivered this catch-up content. When I log back in as an administrator, you'll see there's actually a series of different activities that would be delivered to individuals that didn't get such a great result in their pre-assessment quiz, and maybe needs to do a little bit of kind of catch-up content or backdated learning. And you can see that there's various ticks across these items. So there's completion tracking against all of the activities, as well as completion tracking against the course as a whole. And that's where we can, thinking back to those dashboards, track progress for users as they progress through their learning, and also offer different learning items to different users based on this tracking. So there is a degree of gamification that you can leverage with these what's called conditional access or restrict access functionality. Then you pair it with things like leaderboards for assessed activities, and the fact that the system is compliant with Open Badges Standard 2.0, so that you can issue branded and targeted badges automatically based on activity completion or course completion or a couple of different criteria, means that you can award and reward and encourage and surprise your learners within this content without having to have a big shiny separate gamification engine. You can leverage your content, you can leverage the experience of the organization to create I won't go so far to say fun necessarily, because some learning is very serious, but an engaging environment where users might You might be able to tap into their competitive spirit or their curiosity, or maybe in my my experience, into their desire to complete everything. We also have a separate gamification guide. This is going to be a challenge for you later to find the gamification guide. It's on the website under resources, where we've talked about the different ways that you can add gamification to courses, and the different types of gamification that you can add. So if you can dig that out, Lee, and pop that in the chat, it'd be much appreciated. Now, one of the big features of the Learn functionality is the seminar tool. And the seminar tool is a way to manage instructor-led training, whether that be face-to-face or virtual, or a combination of all those things. So you can create events. An event might be made up of multiple sessions. It might be just the one session. And you can have a physical room and resource management behind that, or you can use a built-in integration with either Teams or Zoom to create a virtual event. I won't click on that example because it will boot me out of the session, but you can create a link to your Zoom or your Teams account and then create a corresponding room or event when you create these seminar events. You can also add facilitators, and again, you can have calendar management behind this. You can also add equipment, and again, calendar management behind that, as well as services. So you might have catering or IT support, and again, you might allow that, for example, to be double booked, so multiple events can have sandwiches delivered. So the seminar tool allows a range of options around booking. So that might be that the user can book themselves. It might be that they require manager approval. It might be that they require two-step approval. There's notifications and reminders built into the system, but you can add your own and use placeholders to personalize those notifications. And then on conclusion or on start of that event, there is sophisticated session level and event level tracking of attendance. So you can see who showed up for the morning session, who showed up for the first Monday session, but not the second Tuesday session, which means you've got a lot of options in terms of the different training models that you can include and indulge across the system, whether it's, theory in the morning, practical in the afternoon, across the week, and every individual has to attend one theory and one practical, but it doesn't matter on what day of the week that they do it. The system will allow you to accommodate that collection of attendance and then mark them as complete for the event as a whole. Right, she takes a breath. I'm going to move off Learn in a moment and move on to Engage. What I want to show you is maybe a sneak peek for some folks, is one addition that we've added to version 15, which I will need to log out as Lisa for in a minute. So when you log in as an administrator or a guest, sometimes you're not enrolled in the course and you don't realize it. And particularly for administrators, there are obviously administrators might be learners as well. But their enrollment isn't tracked unless they enroll in the course. And previously you could get away with it without realizing it, and then your results wouldn't be tracked. So we've added a new alert for administrators and guests for when they view a particular course, if they're not currently enrolled in it. In fact, I've got a nice little screenshot here for you, which I will bring up on screen. Not that one, of the different options that are available. So this is a nice little addition to the latest release of the Talent Experience platform. Right, Lee, can I have some Learn questions, please?
You can. You've just answered one of them. Are you working on version 15 there? So yes, you are.
Well, yeah, I'm on 15, yeah.
We've also been asked, is there only a leaderboard for quizzes, or is there a leaderboard for any other activities such as SCORM packages?
Oh, good question. Yeah, so you can use the leaderboard for any graded or assessed activity. So yep, if your SCORM has a grade associated with it, then yep, you could use the leaderboard for that.
One more question, maybe this is too detailed, it's from Patricia. Regarding attendance functionality, is there any increased ability to adjust the view of the attendance sheet when taking attendance, such as sort or adding of additional columns?
Yeah, so I believe it's based off an embedded report. So if you edit the embedded report, you can add in those custom columns if you so wish. A good question, Patricia. But yeah, I believe if you edit the embedded report, then the PDF that's spat out as the sign-in sheet will accommodate those changes.
And final one from Carly. Oh, we're currently on TOTRA 13. How do we upgrade?
Well, I would say speak with your partner. So upgrades are different for everyone. Some is, if you're very, very, very lucky, could be a couple of minutes outage. But everyone's site is a little different, and that's where our partner network provides you that skill and knowledge to advise you on the best way to move forward. But the first step is to reach out and saying, hey, we love the new updates. We'd love to upgrade, and you can have that discussion. Alrighty, did you say that was the last question, Lee?
Yeah, that's it.
Awesome. All right. Well, let me, while I have my slides up, just talk a little bit about the mobile app. So we have recently released an update to the TOTRA mobile app. The app supports Android and iOS. For the updates, you need to be on version 15, and shouldn't be a problem for a lot of folks, but the older version of the app still works on version 13 and 14. So the mobile app is primarily supports, primarily at the moment supports the learner journey as they log in. So the site itself is usually fully responsive, so you can still do your learning on your phone or your tablet or your laptop, but the app provides potentially like a dedicated and very mobile friendly environment to complete learning. So it's really aimed at for those folks on the go, short periods of time for learning. Maybe they're on the train, they're commuting in, maybe they're sitting outside a potential customer's office trying to quickly learn about the latest product. So it's just in time learning. But let's see if I can stop this from going. No, okay, we just have to put up with the GIF for a little while. It's getting a bit much for me here. So you can create a branded login for the mobile app. So you can use your existing login on the site, and you can view your current learning and go into that and complete your courses, your programs or certifications, or you can browse, as the GIF here is showing here, you can browse the learning catalog and find and enroll in new courses. Once you're in courses, you can complete all your activities as you would do, whether you were on your laptop or your computer. But big thing here is that you can download SCORM activities, so your e-learning, onto the app and complete that when you're completely offline. So again, maybe you're on a train or on a bus and you go through a tunnel, or you have patchy internet. You can complete those offline and then resynchronize them when you're back home or back at the office when you've got a decent wireless connection. We also, within the updates across mobile, you can now, within the course catalog, view engage resources. So those micro learning items, the content which I'm about to show you, you can view those, you can rate those, you can like those. And finally, across the mobile app, there's also push notifications. So you can opt to receive reminders, for example, those seminar events that I was just showing you across the mobile app, and any reminders such as certifications due or assessments due. So just going to skip through a couple of screenshots across the mobile app here. So you can see that you can log into your courses, your program certifications. You can see how you're progressing in terms of completion and what's left to do. So I'm going to talk about TOTRA Engage now. So TOTRA Engage is our learner engagement or experience platform. It's like the learning management system. TOTRA Learn was to support your more formal learning, your instructor-led learning or training. TOTRA Engage is primarily designed, or you can adapt it to your specific requirements. Engage is primarily designed to support that informal learning, the peer-to-peer learning. It could be just subject matter experts, but it's a an environment where that different type of learning happens. Not all of it's compliance, not all of it's mandatory training or instructor-led training. Some of it is through natural discovery and sharing, and Engage supports that journey. So you can, individuals, whether they're allowed to or not with those access rights I was talking about right at the start, can create and share content. You can bundle or curate that content together into playlists. There's those workspaces that I teased you with before. And you can search and discover and find that content either in the catalog or through that recommendations engine. There's also an MS Teams integration with Engage, so that users can use their MS Teams site to receive notifications, to browse the course catalog, to find courses, to complete courses. And that means that learners can, if they're, for example, an MS Teams working environment, can learn in the flow of work and receive links to quick resources which might help with a certain situation or upskill them in a certain area or policy. So the two work together very nicely. Now, I'm going to jump back to my demo site here. We are going to say goodbye to admin user and welcome back Lisa Lerner. So in terms of Engage content and where you can create it, we see we can find it within the Find Learning, the catalog here, the resources and the playlists. But Lisa here can also, she's got permission to create content. Say you can restrict that to certain individuals, or you may allow all individuals to create content and share it if they so wish. So Engage content, there's a couple of different types of content that you can create. You've got a resource or a survey. A survey is a simple poll, and you can see just hiding behind my modal box here is an example of a survey or a poll. You can have single answers or multiple answers. And these using these are a great way to just check in with individuals to get a feel for what people are interested in, what they're not interested in, how they feel about a certain subject. Could be even just where they want to go to lunch that day. It's entirely up to you how you use those surveys, but you can pepper them in between those resources to really get a pulse check with individuals to see how they're connecting with the content that you're creating. Do they understand it? Do they get the concepts that you're trying to communicate? The other type of content you can create is the standard resource, and this can be pretty much whatever you like. I always use Lee's name to make him feel uncomfortable. And this can be text-based content, it can be links, it can be attachments, it can be video or media that you've got stored somewhere. It can be what is a YouTube video, which you can just pop the link into, so you can embed YouTube or Vimeo videos directly into it and wrap that content around that. And of course, very importantly, you've got the ability to insert a unicorn emoji at any point that you need. Now, thinking back to the dashboard and that recommendations engine, the content that you add here, if it was a real word, there's natural language processing across those recommendations. So if you like a piece of content that talks about a certain concept or uses a certain word, often like automation or specialization or flexibility or adaptability, then the recommendations engine will think, all right, Lisa's digging this content about adaptability. I'll provide her recommendations of other content talking about adaptability. You can also add in hashtags, to find it more findable across the course catalog and to be provided recommendations. But you can also add different configurable topics or formalized tags across the system. So there's a range of options I've got here on my site, but you can create your own list of topics. And again, this feeds into that catalog as well as the recommendations engine to say, all right, Lisa's likes case studies about technical IT skilled leadership or something along those lines. And again, if I say it's going to take less than 5 minutes, then it becomes part of that recommendations of micro learning. And now that piece of content has been created and will be visible across the course catalog. Now, say you can curate or bundle this content together into playlists. With individual resources, you can receive likes and have commentary and discussion across these items. You can share them with others or provide the links to others. If you bundle them into these playlists, it might be because it's related content, or it might be content that is a start to finish journey. And you have the option of modifying those playlists as you so need and moving items around. So if I choose that to move that to a different area, I can just drag and drop and reorder that playlist. And so with these individual items have likes and comments, playlists can have ratings and comments. And we've just added this idea of having related content as well. So you can, Lisa's a big fan of her own work, so she's provided a comment here, but there's also likes against these comments. And we'll see in a moment when I look at the reporting, you can report on engagement and collaboration and positive communication through the reporting tool to see which users are engaging, which users are providing content, which users are providing content which other people are engaging with. Now, in terms of Total Engage, I see this as, your informal, your peer learning, but just as easily you could use this as instructor-led training. There's just no assessment points. It's delivery of content rather than assessment of knowledge. So you can use Engage like as formal learning. Likewise with Learn, you could use that for informal learning or a combination of all of those things. The beauty of having both products is it gives you the option to deliver the content in the medium that works for the content itself and for the recipients or the learners of that content. So you can have a mix of different delivery methods or mediums to suit the kind of learning that you're delivering and to suit the kind of learners that are having to absorb or engage with that learning. Okay, I am going to move on to Total Perform now. Lee, any questions while I transition here?
Just one question from Grant at the moment. Can polls be configured to show participants and their responses or kept anonymous?
You can see who has been. Actually, that's a good question. I think it's anonymous. I don't think you can configure who can see what. Lee, would you be able to pop into the community just to confirm and see like one of the polls that are in there and see if you can see who answered what for me, please?
Certainly will. No
Thank
problem.
you. It means I can push on to perform and still provide an answer. It's like I'm multitasking with someone else doing all the work. Okay. Total Perform. So Total Perform is our performance management system. It also has performance activities like appraisals and check-ins and feedbacks, but it also has a really sophisticated competency management and tracking system. Now, Total Perform is primarily designed to support continuous performance management process. So while we do still have the option of creating your once a year appraisals, you can add that and merge that with more of a smaller, more but meaningful regular check-ins throughout the year. And you can have a mix of those things, whether it's an appraisal at the start of the year, then a fortnightly or a monthly check-in, and then maybe a biannual feedback, and then an end of year appraisal. However you want to manage it, the system has that flexibility to adopt to your particular performance management processes, whether they are now or evolving. Lee, have you got an answer for me, or am I jumping in too quick?
I've just logged into the community.
Okay.
I can't see any details of who's responded.
Right.
And I've just jumped into my site as well as an administrator. And again, I've just got the total number of participants rather than the actual individual names.
So it's always anonymous. Okay, cool. Thank you. Appreciate that. So yeah, there we go, Grant. It's always anonymous. If you wanted to capture who said what, there is actually a similar piece of functionality across Total Learn, so within courses. It's called the choice activity. It's like a polling system, and within that you have the option of configuring whether it's anonymous or whether it's tracked, and optionally whether people can see other people's responses. So depending on your use case, if it's the kind of the pulse survey like we see in Engage, and it doesn't really matter who said what, you just want to see the overall results, you would use that tool. If you needed to capture that at a more sophisticated level or granular level, you would use the choice activity within a course. Okay, sorry to bounce around, folks. Thank you again, Lee. So Total Perform, as I say, has a range of different performance activities, and you can, you don't have to call the appraisals, feedback, check-ins. Whether you create an appraisal or a check-in, the same functionality is available to you. So if you don't want to call them appraisals, feedback, or check-ins, you want to call them something else, you can do that. It's just a way or a kind of a label or a tag to set expectations for individuals, but you can adapt it to your particular requirements. Now, say it also has advanced competency assignment and tracking. You can do things like bulk assign individuals various competencies, which are those skills, behaviors, and knowledge that you might have to have or need to have or want to have to be safe, efficient, happy in your job. There's also ability to track proficiency and set different proficiency levels for that competency by how they were assigned. So one individual might need a high level of proficiency, another individual might just need a basic knowledge of that competency, so a lower level of proficiency. We also have company level goals tracking and personal level goals tracking. So let's take a look. So let's start off with the competencies here. So this is, I'm logged in as Lisa Lerner. This is her competency profile, and she's been assigned a variety of different competencies based on different criteria. So her job position, her organization, she's self-assigned herself a bunch, and there's been some that have been directly assigned to her by her manager or an administrator. So you can see that there's different lines in terms of what on the outer edge here is the particular competency. The yellow line or the outer line or the lighter colored line or the lighter shaded line, if you don't see these colors, is the level of proficiency required. And the blue or the darker shaded color is the current level of competency. So for example here, process mapping is always the one I pick on. Process mapping has a 3-step scale in this particular example, but you can create your own scales with any number of steps and any number of titles. This is just a working example. And competency in this case is tied to a combination of course completion and an assessment by both Lisa and her manager and a reviewer. So it means that you can automate it. You complete the course, you achieve the competency. It might be something that needs to be observed, so a behavior that you might be able to train on, but you need to see demonstrated to acknowledge, or it can be more fluid, so a combination of the two, so that an individual might complete the course, but behaviors and skills and demonstrations of those skills and behaviors shift and change. So that might be that you were competent one week and then you forget to demonstrate your advanced process mapping abilities for a couple of months, so your manager bounces you back down to competent with supervision. So you might need to recomplete the course. You might just need to refresh yourself in terms of your knowledge and work a little harder around your process mapping in this example. So it means competencies are a great way of automating a learning plan or a learning path or a learning journey for individuals. So they know, all right, this is my job, this is my team, this is my audience. I need these skills, behaviors, knowledge, these competencies. I can track my progress towards completing them. I can see how I can achieve these. I can see where my proficiency lays. As Lee teased, he's got a webinar coming up, which I strongly recommend you attend. That's going to be brilliant. He's put a lot of work into it. So do sign up if you haven't already. And he's going to talk a lot more about those competencies. There is a bit of setup involved. So he's going to go through how to create those competency frameworks, how to assign them, how to use them in different applications and ideas of using them within your organization. So yeah, five star would recommend attendance at that event. Now, we also have the idea of performance activities. So as I say, these might be check-ins, appraisals, feedback, and this shows some of the other updates that we've added across the latest release of the TXP. So we've made some improvements to this UI. Anyone who's on 13 or 14 might go, oh, that's new. And this is idea of these cards for priority. If I created something kind of this side of November and then left it, it would show that it's late and overdue. So there'd be a flag for anything overdue. And I can search across activities, I can sort, I can go through and just see everything that I've done or what I haven't done or what's in progress. So there's advanced filtering and a range of UI improvements. There's also a nicer interface here for seeing the different types of activities that you have in terms of context. So if I was an appraiser or a manager, I'd see new additional tabs. So I know that perhaps as a manager, you might want to prioritize filling in the performance activities of your staff over yourself or your peers. Likewise, if you are an assessor and it's an important assessment like health and safety or first aid, you might prioritize those. So all these UI improvements allow you to identify those performance activities which you must complete and those that you should complete straight away or prioritize. So I'm going to bid Lisa farewell while I show you some of the behind the scenes stuff and performance activities, and then I'm going to wrap up on reports, and then we can talk about multi-tenancy and then any other questions. So performance activities. So you can create any number of these with different schedules, different types, different questions. And I have created one here, which I'm going to go into and edit. I've got nothing in it at the moment, just to show you some of the other updates that we've included recently. So when you create a performance activity, give it a name, give it a type, but you can change the type as you like. And then you add elements. So elements might be questions, or they might be kind of more static content. You might be embedding an image or a link to a PDF. You might be aggregating the results of a previous activity, like your 360 feedback. You might pull those into an annual appraisal so you can see where people are at in terms of their peers and their staff and their manager. You can also redisplay content responses. So if there's a particularly pertinent question in a start of the year appraisal, you might want to pull that up into your check-in so that you can review those every time you run those, maybe let's say monthly check-ins. So there are also a range of different question types, and we've added some improvements around things like date display and the fact that you can have a single select multi-choice option, so you can do that like I've read and agree to the terms and conditions, or I understand that all my answers are correct to the best of my ability. So you can add in disclaimers and acknowledgements across the system, as well as answer yes, no, true, false type questions. One of the main things we've added is this review type question. We started introducing this across, well, I guess across the middle of the year, following the earlier May release or update. And we've added a couple more items or question types here. So we can pull in those goals that I was talking about. We can pull in competency information, learning that the user has already completed or is completing, and any external evidence that they've uploaded. And we can wrap different questions against each of these types that we pull in. So for example, if I select a competency, and I'll just put in some nonsense here, I can add in a competency. Go to 23. Yes, I know that. I haven't selected a participant. Brilliant. There we go. No. Go, Meredith, you can do this. What am I doing wrong? I haven't selected the participant. Oh, I beg your pardon. So in this, what I'm doing wrong is I haven't actually added anyone who's part of this activity yet. So I've only just created the shell of it. So what it's asking me to say is, okay, who's going to be reviewing this particular competency that you're adding in? So I've kind of stumbled on myself here by creating this without adding any individuals to the event or to the activity. But what you can do with these here is create a question and then wrap other questions around it. So let's say we pull in a competency, it displays that process mapping competency, and in the monthly check-in, the manager can say, hey Lisa, I know you did these courses, but haven't really been seeing a demonstration of those skills. Or maybe the following month, pull in exactly the same competency and saying, Lisa, you've picked up your game, your process mapping is absolutely advanced, I'm going to bump you up a level. So you can wrap around those assessments, those reviews, those development activities, the required learning, all within these performance activities. So it very much connects the system and makes that idea of kind of learning and growing, engaging, deliver, and perform and succeed across the entire platform. That didn't go to plan, but hopefully I just demonstrated it sufficiently. That was my own fault for being too keen and not setting things up properly. Okay, that is it for Perform specifically. Now that I'm logged in as admin user, I just want to wrap around to where we started, which is the dashboards. So this is the same dashboard that Lisa saw, but you can see that you can add in different dashboards and different configuration and different information for different individuals. And you can have dashboards that are only assigned to, for example, managers or administrators, and you can pull in reporting into those dashboards, whether it's graphical or whether it's text-based or a combination of those two. It means that at a glance, managers can go in and see the data relevant to them and their team or their position. You can filter reports so that they're contextual for the individual viewing it. Because I'm an admin here, I've opted to see everything, but otherwise it would provide content specifically for my team. So reporting, just to wrap up, because I'm aware of the time, I've been talking at you guys for 51 minutes now, that within the report functionality, you can create your own reports, you can edit your own reports, and you can share your own reports, whether those be to someone else's reports list or whether you can schedule them and be sent to other individuals. When you create these reports, you can see that, for example, is that user engagement report that I was talking about. You can edit the name, or you can go and edit the content, the search options, the columns that they're actually displayed, or even limit who can and can't see that particular report. So we've got a lot of options across the reporting functionality. Very powerful. If I wanted to go and create a new report, I can either base it off an existing template, or I can search for a certain source or part of the system that I want to report on. For example, if I want to report on engagement, here are all the reports based on engagement. I can then go into that report. I can do a quick create based on the defaults, or I can go in and create my own report based off the information relating to playlists. So for example, this report doesn't exist yet. I can go create and view, and now that report's there. I might then go into further edit that report. And let's see, I might add in some other columns or other information that's relevant to me. Or I might remove certain information that I don't want to see. So maybe I don't care about shares. So I've removed that now. And that is now a different report. So there we go. That is reporting across Total Talent Experience platform. As I say, I've only really scratched the surface. There's plenty more to talk about, things like hierarchies. What else is there? Multi-tenancy. I want to run a quick intermission just to see where you guys are at while I'm asking for any questions from Lee. Lee.
Yes, so there's been a couple of questions come through. So from Peter, could this competency feature be used almost as a sign-off that a user is competent at an activity? So using a piece of machinery, for example, and would it be linked to a course on Total Learn?
Yeah, yes and yes. So absolutely. I mean, that's one of the primary uses of it is, around compliance and safety and tracking competency. So yes, you could assign everyone who is perhaps a machinist in that particular area and ensure that they're competent in using that machine. You can report on that, you can track that, and you can say competence might be achieved, or a level of proficiency might be achieved in that competency of using that machine based on completing one or many courses. So yeah, exactly. What's probably the primary use case across it. But as you'll see, at Lee's webinar, is it next week? There are lots of different ways to leverage this functionality.
Excellent, thank you. Jürgen's asked a couple of questions as well, but I've told him to contact me separately because it's around user journeys.
Okay.
Grant's asked, can a performance activity be configured and be required when performance in other performance activities drops below a certain level?
Kinda. So performance activities work kind of independently of each other, but you could, if you got a particularly low result or a grade or something within your performance activity, or it wasn't complete maybe, you could use that as, you could group people together into an audience and assign them a particular performance activity. So if you had a way of measuring that kind of non-compliance or that non-achievement, you could assign a specialist or a set group or a dynamic group of individuals a particular performance activity. Noting that performance activities are isn't really something that you kind of, how do I explain this? So an activity is a way to capture what you have and haven't done, or what you can and can't do, or should and shouldn't do, rather than something that you would perform. You would complete that. It would be more of a dialogue and a discussion and a way of surfacing information within a performance activity. What you describe sounds more like an assessment, in which case it's probably more sits within Total Learn. You can have quizzes, you can have assessments, and if you failed that quiz, for example, then other information or more kind of remedial content or additional learning could be delivered to you. So I guess, Grant, I know that I haven't really answered your question properly, but you can achieve probably what you're describing better in a course than within the Perform functionality, which is, as I say, more of a dialogue in terms of your development rather than something you pass or fail. Right, I'll end that poll. Thank you very much for that, filling in that poll. There is one more, don't worry, again, all completely anonymous. Lee, any other questions?
No, that's it for now. Thanks, Meredith.
Amazing. All right, well, I'll just bring up my last few slides while I launch that last poll. If you want to find out more, so those folks that aren't currently using a Total product and who are interested, you can request a demo through our website, and we can assign that to one of our very talented partners to follow up with you. Of course, the Total community, which hopefully you've all got accounts for, it's free to use, and there's a range of amazing content and free courses to complete. We've recently launched a number of new programs and some content around version 15, which I encourage you to check out. We've also got a range of resources and blogs across the website. There's help documentation, and you can always reach out directly to a Total partner or your Total partner. We have a partner page listing on our website, which you can browse through, look at maybe the case studies, and then find a partner that's a good match. But if you anything else, I encourage you to either contact us directly or pop into the Total community if there's anything that we can help you with. So just to wrap up, again, a fourth and final plug for Lee's event next week. Please do sign up if you haven't already. We also have a range of other events coming up across December. So keep an eye on the events page, and probably we'll hopefully take a bit of a break over the holiday period and then start again in the new year. So if you've got any areas that you'd like us to start planning for to provide demos or webinars on in the new year, this poll is very much your opportunity to provide us that feedback, or pop that in the chat, whether it's to the group or privately. We'd be very interested in knowing what you want to hear more about. So on that, unless there's any other questions, sorry, are there any other questions?
None have come through, Meredith, that's fine.
Okay, wonderful. I'm making wild assumptions here. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you for your fantastic questions. Thank you for your engagement, and a very big thank you to Lee for looking after us all today and for your amazing link foo. I appreciate everyone's time. Again, the recording will be available in the next few days via the Total community. Thanks everyone, and have a safe and happy day.
Thanks everyone, goodbye.
Bye-bye.